but you still have to have the accessibility of the virtual, even if you are able to meet in person. So they require you to do a hybrid in that case.
Gotcha.
All right, are we ready to go, Susie?
I just wanted to let you know I'm here, Sandra.
Hi, Sandra.
Hi.
And
Sandra.
we are good to go, guys.
All right, you ready to go?
We have 2 more people waiting. Does anyone know who 714-2023 is?
Mona.
Mona, that's what I thought. Thank you.
How do you know that, Dylan?
We're broadcasting live on YouTube, just so you know.
All right, we are a go, guys.
All right, here we go. I'd like to call the meeting to order. August 17th at, I don't know, about 4:02 or 3. Discussion of potential action regarding the approval of the minutes of July 20th, 2020 meeting. Any additions, subtractions, thoughts? I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of July 20th, 2020.
Second.
Second by Sandra. All in
All those in-
favor? Steve Draper?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Steve, hit *6 to unmute yourself. Kathy?
Aye.
Thank you.
Susie, you might be able to force unmute Steve. if you try. Oh,
He's gone.
we still have a quorum. We can proceed.
Okay.
All right, well, we're proceeding.
Guys.
Item number 2, discussion of potential action regarding management agreement between the town of New Shoreham and the sewer and water districts. David, I guess that's you?
Well, actually, it's for everybody. If there's anything that they're interested in changing or want to talk about, this is the month in which we kind of start going down that road of trying to organize our thoughts so we can put it together for next month before sending it off to the council when we meet with them in October. So it has to be done annually. I don't have anything that needs to be changed. I think we've sorted out all the kind of clerical stuff, you could say, over the past few years. So I don't know if the superintendents have anything that they have an interest in, or finance might have something have an interest in, but.
This is John Brunig, water superintendent. Just for some historical perspective, we did a pretty nice overhaul of this a couple years ago. So I don't think, we sometimes make minor tweaks, but it got a pretty good change 2 years ago. The only thing that I see is every year is the town contract that has to be, the deadline for the town is September 1st to come up with something. That's the only thing on an annual basis that we have to do at this point. So anyway, otherwise I read through it again as I do every year, and it seems fine on my end, except for that one item. If you remember, we have a joint town council meeting always in October where we ratify this or agree upon it. So that's why we bring it up in August. So we get plenty of time to send it to them if there's changes, for them to come back, and for all of us to agree in October.
Thank you, John. Yep. Dylan Chase, sewer superintendent. I have nothing to add to that. I have reviewed, and as John said, it's on my end, it seems as good to go as it was last year. So.
Good. That sounds awesome. So we'll go on. I guess I would encourage everybody to review the management agreement if they haven't already, and that includes me. and for the next meeting, so we can say whatever there needs to be said. All right, number 3, discussion of potential action regarding discussing water and wastewater capacity and resources with the Town of New Shoreham Planning Board for future development review. I guess John and Dylan.
Sure. David, do you want me to start here? And
Yeah, why don't you start, John, and
Okay.
then I'll fill in.
so the reason this is on is, you know, since I've been around, there's been really no, you know, there hasn't been much discussion with the planning board regarding water resources. When I say water resources, I'm meaning water and wastewater. And what prompted this is when I listened to the meeting of the town council regarding some zoning changes they made for accessory hotels. You know, I was listening to this meeting, and you know, there just seemed to be a lot more chances for development. Maybe not that change opened up, but just in general in the Old Harbor area. And as the water superintendent, it kind of was like, you know, we do our capacity every year in October for allocation. As you know, the water has less capacity than the sewer. But I wanted to review with the zoning board a couple things. How do we fit into their development plan reviews? Number 1, and number 2, what is the bigger picture that the planning board would like to see as the water company reaches capacity? Do they want us to take money from a potential user and invest that into infrastructure? Do we want to tone that down? That's not really for me to decide, or maybe for the water sewer to decide, but it's more of a community planning decision. And I wanted to go to the planning board and talk about how we fit into their development plan reviews. And David has something to say about this, I believe, because I think this is more his wheelhouse. But let's have a discussion about water and sewer resources and development in the downtown, you know, and New Harbor areas. At least hasn't been done in 15 to 20 years. And I figure it's something that should be talked about every once in a while. What's our 10-year plan for development? How does that fit into water and sewer resources? David can take it from here. I believe David has a lot, you know, he knows a lot more about planning than I do. So,
Well, I've got one question before David talks, or one thing to say. Don't we have, or doesn't the town have, I believe they do actually have what they call, I think, a comprehensive plan as to the development of Block Island on a long range plan. I know they do from a residential standpoint. I don't know if they have one for the downtown area, but I believe it's out there for public viewing.
You are correct, Peter. And, you know, recently that was redone, and, you know, I worked on it with Allison Ring on the water resources end, but that doesn't necessarily pick up when there is development. That's kind of a bigger picture. Here's what we have. You know, I do agree with you, and it is important, but I feel like it's not kind of it's a bigger umbrella picture of what the resources are. But when there is development, it doesn't really, I guess, play a role, but that does fit into the bigger picture. Absolutely. Yeah.
I'll take that as my cue. So David Petranka. So John, thanks for the compliments as far as, you know, my expertise in land use, I guess, but which is typically the boards I actually am sitting on, you know, in my other communities, planning and zoning. And what I can say just from a kind of a forest level perspective is typically if there is a water district or water department, depending on the town, if it's integrated or not, or if it's some outside entity, say like Kent County Water Authority or something, typically during whether it be development plan review or master or preliminary plan stages of a larger development, you're getting, an actual advisory letter from that utility. So whether it be water or the sewer authority, in terms of how does this, proposed development fit into what the utility has going forward, just as it does with the fire districts. They need to sign off on certain things from a safety standpoint. If the cistern is necessary or sprinklers need to be installed. It's similar for water and sewer. Do you have a capacity? Does the infrastructure in the area need to be upgraded in order to accommodate this particular development? Those are the kinds of questions that the planning boards typically want to know, because they can make those conditions of approval. Whether it be, maybe on a simpler side, like, hey, that's a dangerous corner leading up to that development. Developer, if you want to develop this and you're going to increase traffic in that area, we need you to spend money to actually fix that corner and make it safer, even if it isn't, directly, in the development, but it's leading to the development. Those are typical planning tools that those boards use. And just from my preliminary discussions with John, it doesn't appear that the water district or the sewer district are involved with even offering opinions such as on allocation or the availability of these resources when it comes to these developments. So it's kind of generically built into the development and design standards, acknowledging, public water and wastewater, just looking over, New Shoreham's subdivision regulations. But, it could be more robust, and it could be more substantive in terms of, them requiring on a checklist, for instance, hey, we need a letter from, this is in the water district, we need a letter from the water district on this proposed development, and same thing for the sewer district. So I think what John and Dylan were thinking about was getting an audience with the planning board to see if we can either strengthen what's already there, or to just, substantively take a larger role in what is there in terms of regulations and review.
I would like to interject, Dylan Chase, sewer superintendent. I completely agree. The role, although sewer does have a greater capacity than water does at this time. Being involved in the process of planning is certainly something that's in everyone's interest. We don't want to be caught on the tail end of some idea and then say, hey, no, we can't do this. That wastes everybody's time. So I do believe a larger role and a seat should be awarded to both of us, John and myself, if not Jim as well. So.
Pretty good.
With Jim Brady, the land use officer, before this meeting, and we're trying to remember the last one. It was probably the Old Island Pub had development plan review in the water district, and Jim did comment on that. That's a smaller use building, so capacity necessarily was an issue. I'm looking for these bigger buildings that are going up that are going to use, let's say 2,000-3,000 a day. That takes a big chunk of our existing allocation. So, those are the projects. Maybe a larger project, this employee housing project that Lark Hotels is doing. We catch wind of it, but we don't necessarily, where is it coming to us? And then it's not right now. It might be in 5 years where we're going, there's nothing left. What do you want us to do here? So it's a broader discussion, and and a broader, bigger picture 10-year plan discussion, and also a discussion when it does come through. And I believe, David, that we are brought in on it, but we haven't had, the Old Island pub wasn't a huge concern about capacity. A 50-person employee housing unit might, might be a bigger discussion, if you know what I mean. So,
Well, I have a question. So along those lines, John, I mean, so we're sort of circling the trough, but not saying anything about so how much more capacity do we have on a daily basis? Broad numbers.
I'm glad you asked, Pete, because I just pulled up our allocation. Our allocation from last year, which Jim and I have already talked about, we'll probably use last year's number. I feel like using this year would throw the numbers out a little bit, and then we'd get caught. We had for private projects, we had 14,500 gallons available, but what we have to understand is that factors in September, which I always say in our allocation number. So that's not a peak capacity, but the other thing I'm looking at as well on the water side is some older wells on public water supplies. I've already had potentially 2 new customers come on that are public water supplies that have aging infrastructure. Over the next few years, who knows, we might pick up a few more. And a lot of those customers already have allocations, so we're not actually going to see a purchase from some of those. So, and once their wells go, they might get onto town water pretty quick, and we have to be prepared for that. We do factor that into our allocation. We reserve about 55,000 gallons a day for those accounts, those standby accounts, but that could put us in a different position over the next 10 years. I'm not talking about next summer or the summer after. I'm thinking about a long-term plan here to handle those accounts, maybe plus some development. We might, we've already grabbed 2 probably in the last 2 years, failing wells on public water supplies. And sometimes the owner would rather just go downtown water than deal with the mess of permitting a new well, which is next to impossible. So that's also factoring into my mindset as well.
So David Petracca, legal counsel here. Just to, I guess, button up the end of what you were talking about earlier, John, in terms of, the last development plan review had to do with the pub. And just correct me if I'm wrong, the water and sewer weren't consulted one way or the other about
no,
it,
Jim Jeremy, it was more, I believe, that had more to do with the utilities. Remember, there wasn't a sewer connection. Where are we going to put the water? We felt like that was more of an engineering and not a capacity issue. But we were consulted because Jim had a lot to do with the engineering, and that did not go through until Jim cleared the water and sewer. Yeah, that
Okay.
It did come by us, but it wasn't a capacity issue at that point.
I guess my overall point is all of that should be part of the discussion, whether it's small or large. If it qualifies for development plan review, if it qualifies to needing master and preliminary and final plan on a larger type subdivision or development, they should be checking in with the water and the sewer district, even if we're just given we have no concerns kind of a letter back, or, hey, we might have concerns about how this is engineered, or listen, this is going to be a significant drain on the available allocation capacity. Whatever it is, there should be a letter back from us each time that the developer needs in order to move on to the next stage of development, whatever that is. And that's how it's done everywhere else.
And, I think this is being done. I just want to go to them and, I think it's important to reiterate those things and then come up with the larger discussion plan that, that I'd like to have. I mean, I feel as though, it's a funny year to have this discussion because we're not at capacity, but you look at the development that's being proposed here recently, and it's, you start to think about, it's my job to think about that 10-year plan. So I'd like to, I don't want to get in a spot where there wants to be more development and the water is the reason there's not, or, I don't know what the answer is. That's why I'd like to go and talk with the planning board.
Dylan, any more comments on that?
No other comments, but I share John's sentiment, and I do believe it is in everyone's best interest that we continue with or start a communication with the planning board and apply the same standards that are applied everywhere else as far as you know, the stop motion. Hey, let's provide a letter of assurance that we have the capacity to meet the demand. That's all I have.
Well, so as an action plan, I mean, do we want to have Susie or David? I mean, it seems like probably not needed for David to write this letter. It seems like Susie could write a letter to the planning board, sort of encompassing what we talked about here, and maybe set up a meeting between the supers and the planning board. I don't think anybody else needs to be involved with that. Sounds to me like they would have that, and certainly. And then once they come up with a draft or some kind of outline, then they get to into policy.
That's exactly what I'm looking for, Pete.
Well, then I'd like to make a motion to do exactly that, Dylan and John have Susie write a letter to the planning board, and let's get a meeting together sometime, probably in the fall, and let's proceed.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kathy. All in favor, Tom Doyle? I see that aye. All right. Steve Draper? *6 to unmute, Steve. Sandra?
Yes.
Thank you. And Pete?
Aye.
David, what do we do about not being able to hear Steve?
I'm looking at him from here on the porch. I think I saw him raise his hand. No, just kidding.
For now, he's an abstention. If we're able to record his vote later, we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's move on to the water district. Do we have a vice chair for the water district on the call?
I believe that'd be Kathy, right? At this point.
Kathy is here, yep.
Kathy, you want to handle it?
For the water district on the update on High Street? Sure.
I was gonna say I'll do this with my water operations report, but I'll just I can handle it now. Let me get down to that point. So as probably most of you know, on July 27th with the town financial meeting, we were successful in getting bonding authorization for the full $1.343 million. And also we were successful in the voters approved 25% taxpayer participation of that 1.343, which is $335, about over $300,000. So that's great news for the water ratepayers and the water district. Out of a total 2.4 million estimated project, the ratepayers will have a debt service of about $1 million. I think that's an amazing feat, and I'm very proud of the district for getting there. It's been a lot of hard work and a lot of patience, but that's pretty impressive in this day and age to get about 54% of your project paid for by other means, especially when it's a huge project. And it'd be really hard to swallow that full debt service with our small and seasonal rate base. So that's great news. It's probably the best news I've given this board in a long time. With that being said, I've been in talks with Jim Jeremiah. Here's the project bidding process timeline. We will be going out to bid in September. We should have a pre-bid meeting. That'll be a Zoom forum in late September, early October. That's nothing that you guys need to attend. That's usually Jim, me, and the contractors that are involved in the bidding process. We'll be opening the bid in mid-October, and we should be awarding the bid at the October meeting and the third Monday there. So that is our goal, and then starting construction in the spring of 2021. So I just wanted to fill you in on that. We can now kind of move forward with the actual plan of construction and all that, which is great news as well. This has been a long time coming. If you remember, we were supposed to meet on March 23rd to have that meeting. And not to mention all the prep that went into that anyhow. So that's the update. Do you guys have any questions about that?
No, sounds good, John.
Okay, so we move on to number 5, discussion and potential action regarding water financials and aging.
Okay, hi, Mona Halterline here, Deputy Finance Director. Let's see, forgive me if you can't hear me, I'm having a little bit of phone issues. So as far as water goes, you may recall that when we created the fiscal year 21 budget, we didn't know what to expect for revenue due to the COVID restrictions. So we budgeted for a 50% loss in revenue during the summer months for Block Island Water. Now, numbers for July were much better than we anticipated. So gallons billed were only 8% less than they were in 2019. So that's good news. And as the fiscal year 21 budget showed a big impact on reserves, this will lessen the burden. Despite the slightly reduced consumption, the water company's total revenue is higher than last year due to the 12.5% rate increase that was implemented. So July's looking good, and we hope that August is also. Any questions?
Does that mean no impact on reserve, Mona?
Definitely doesn't mean that, no. It means less than it was going to be impacted, but definitely not none. Yeah.
Okay.
No questions on the water operation report, please?
I'll be quick. The only thing really is I want to bring up to you guys is that, after we kind of had some more positive tests out here, we went into a kind of different staffing plan. I have been working some from home, a little bit hybrid, and we're trying not to have 8-hour days with all 3 of us at the plant. It's working out well, and we're just getting through. As I keep on saying, we can't just shut down like the restaurants. When they get a positive COVID test, they've been shutting down. We don't have that option, so. Continuity of operations is important, and it's been working out good. We have our sanitary survey next week, and there's been a lot of work to go into that, both on computer end and the physical end to, make sure the plant's all up to snuff and clean, which usually is anyway, but they look at about everything. Other than that, if you guys, one other thing I'd like to mention, then I'll leave it up to you guys for questions. We received our lead and copper sampling back. It's a big task. It basically takes up a lot of our time in July every 3 years. And those results, we only got 2 lead results out of 20, and those were at 0.2 and 0.3 parts per billion when the action level is 15 parts per billion. And over time, we're seeing these numbers reduced as we have kept a little bit of a higher pH, slightly higher pH over the last about 8 years. So that's good news. We're not corroding people's pipes, and our water is safe to drink. Lead and copper has become a big sticking point after the Flint, Michigan crisis. So I'm proud to say that, you know, we continue to see better numbers over time when we do that every 3 years. If you guys don't have any questions, we can move on.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks, John. Discussion, potential action regarding Ned Phillips parking lot lease. I thought we got finished with that, but
Okay, so I guess I'll take it. The parking lot lease agreement extension has been written and I believe forwarded over to Ned Phillips. Is that correct, Susie?
No, this was just a draft form to be approved by the commission before we can send it over to Mr. Phillips.
Okay. So has everyone reviewed the draft of the parking lot lease agreement?
well, let me ask you this, what's changed other than that we agreed to hold his rent? Nothing's changed on the lease other than we changed the amounts and that we were going to give him what I thought was a 1-year extension on the current rate. Is that accurate?
So David Petronka here, it's drafted right now with holding the rent for a 2-year period.
Okay,
So
well,
it would be effective this year and next year.
but anyway, so actually, okay, all right.
With no
Well,
other
anyway,
changes.
I thought we agreed to that. I guess I'm surprised that we're now approving it. I thought we agreed that that's what we were going to do.
So I can clarify that, David Petronka again. So when it was on your agenda last, it was to talk about it conceptually. So this is the final written form that we need to authorize Pete to be able to sign, assuming Mr. Phillips agrees to it.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's going to read it. Matter of fact, I know he is. Anyway, the bottom line is all right, I'll make a motion that we approve the contract as written, which provides holding his rent as it is now for the period of this year and next year.
Do we have a second?
Second,
Thank you, Kathy. All in favor, Sandra?
Yes.
Tom?
Circle back to Tom.
The only other person we have is Steve Draper. If we can have him hit *6 to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Is that an I?
Yes.
Thank you. Tom Doyle? I think he's having reception issues. We'll just put Tom as an abstain. And the motion carries.
Nice. All right, discuss some potential action regarding sewer plant financials and aging.
All right. So just like the water company, we expected reduced usage in the summer months. So we budgeted at a 30% reduction in summer consumption. And luckily, just like the water company, July was much better than expected. We billed 12.7% less gallons than last year. And the total revenue at the end of July was down 9.5% compared to the prior year. So all in all, I think we lucked out, and I hope it continues. The sewer was also relying heavily on reserves this year to fund the budget, so every bit of unanticipated revenue reduces this draw. And with all the uncertainty around COVID, I think it's really important to maintain a healthy reserve level.
This is John Brunig, Water Superintendent. I meant to chime in on when you said that before. I just like you guys on the financial end of both water and sewer, just to take a look at the graph that I've been updating. And I don't want to be a naysayer, but it's still going well, but I don't think July will be as good as August on a metered flow for both water and sewer. Just from you can see in the graph that there's a kind of a drop off, I believe, when New York and Connecticut issued those quarantine rules. But that being said, it still looks good, but I don't expect July to be 8% down. I would say just a little bit more, judging from what I'm seeing. That's all.
Okay, got it. All right, and that's all I have. If anyone has any questions.
You know, I'm always looking at the aging, and it seems to me that account 57 is way higher than normal.
Account, 1 second. Are we looking at sewer then? Yep. Account, okay, and what's the number, 67?
57.
57. Okay, 1 second.
I know that account is always late, but this is like, I feel like I've never seen it this high, but maybe I'm wrong.
I'm getting there, sorry.
What number was that?
57,
57, it's on the page 7.
page 7.
Yep, that's pretty high for sure. Again, she's one of those that waits until we have the tax sale to pay up.
Crazy. Okay.
Hey, Mona, how about the number 364, which we always seem to have an issue with, but there's been no activity all summer at that location.
Right. There's been no activity on their account either as far as, receiving any payments. And the house, as far to our knowledge, is still owned by the same person.
John Brunig, Water Superintendent. There's been 0 usage there. And I actually went by to confirm that the meter, I didn't go in, but it seems vacant, like Kathy said. And we confirmed that there's been 0 usage there.
There's no way they can bypass the meter?
I don't think, that's why we go and do checks on places, and it was, it is vacant. It's vacant.
How much does it cost us to have a tax sale?
It doesn't. All the expenses are borne by the people who are in the tax sale.
That's what I thought. Okay.
And we were in the process of beginning one before this all happened.
Yep.
Mona, is this the year we do the tax sale on the sewer?
Yes.
I can't even remember off the top of my head.
Yes,
it was sewer.
this was the sewer year, yes.
Sorry, I couldn't remember.
Yeah, no, that had been paused because the governor, in one of her executive orders, and then the PUC followed suit with basically stopping utility collections.
Right.
And that order has since been modified as of maybe 3 weeks ago now, to basically, allow for collection activities and shut-offs of that sort, but except in the case of National Grid for electricity. So we could start that back up. I had passed that message along. It may make more sense to get the summer season in at this point, and then we just capture it all. There's no, other than, you know, a pandemic coming into play, there is no, you know, time that you can or can't have it. It's not it's not like the shut-off season, for instance.
Right.
You guys take care of that. Just that one account seemed higher than normal, that's all.
Oh, no, that's huge.
Yeah.
I don't think since I've been doing a tax sale, I've seen a number that
Oh,
high
really?
on water or sewer here at least. I have property taxes that much higher than that, but
Well, yeah.
that rivals some of those, is what I'm saying.
All right. Are we all set on that?
I think so.
All right. Well, let's move on to the operations report, Dylan.
Okay, so sewer operations report, all process reduction levels were excellent. Our total gallons treated, yes, was down from prior years. But again, as Mona had already stated, it was, we saw a moderate 13% decrease from July 2019 as far as gallons billed go. In the beginning of the month, Anthony Silva, he's a new DEM inspector, has toured the New Shoreham facility. Anthony will be committed to conducting monthly inspections now to get an idea of annual operational changes, and that is statewide. So that was a bit of a surprise, but everything went accordingly. This is not the same as our annual compliance inspection. This is just hello, how's everything going? Making sure that everything's running. I welcomed him. I gave him a tour. Everything went well. I showed him the grit and how we rebuilt that ourselves. He was satisfied, and nothing to report there. It is a little surprising to hear that we will be getting a monthly inspection, but as we are continually remaining diligent in our operations, I have no concerns at this time. All preparations for holiday flows were met. That is 4th of July. Despite the lower flows going into through June, the staff did a great job preparing for you know, the normal usage, normal operations as would be expected in a normal season, summer. So all of those preparations were met. Staff did a great job. Significantly, July 4th, we only saw 240,000 gallons. So that was quite low. However, we have seen a consistency around the average of about 220 to 230,000 gallons per day, which is in line with the average of prior years. As far as operations go, we have had we did have a couple of or 3 high-level alarms at Old Harbor due to ragging issues. Staff responded in time and responded appropriately. The rags or clogs were removed. Secondary pumps were put online. Everything went well, and everything was restored back to normal operations within the hour, and dispatch was notified of that. All services were conducted on the generators. Generators have been running great. Nothing really to report there. Of significance, we are down, just even though we're only about 13% down as far as gallons billed. Our total gallons treated about 6% greater than total gallons billed. We're seeing a 40% decrease in our tipping fee. That's the sludge we ship off due to some operational changes that I and the staff have agreed to make. And we have reduced box changes by 50%. So we've saved a significant amount of money over the past month, and we are continuing to do that through August. Other than that, we have our COVID-19. We're continuing to test weekly now, as I'm sure everyone knows. We've seen a bit of a plateau We're maintaining around 12,000 to 15,000 genetic copies. That is virus concentration per liter of sewage. If you review the reports, there may be some misunderstanding or questions surrounding why do I see a 52% drop over the change from since the last sample. And I just want to qualify that for everyone who's reading these reports. The BioBot Analytics, the lab that conducts the testing, incorporates a fecal marker, and the fecal marker is relative to how many people are using the bathroom at any given time. So if you see a 52% drop or change since the last sample, you're seeing less people go to the bathroom. However, you're seeing the same concentration per liter of sewage. So I just want to qualify that so you're, for your understanding. Other than that, we're going to continue to test weekly, and I will continue to update you as necessary. That's all I have for that.
Nice. Well, that's about it. Now we're going on to number 10. We may, Shoreham Sewer Commission may vote to move into executive session pursuant to General Laws 42-46-5A, subsection 7, on a matter related to the question of the investment of public funds where the premature disclosure would adversely affect public interest regarding possible expansion of lab testing capability. Discussion, potential action, and/or vote in closed session and/or open session on a matter related to the question of the investment of public funds, where the premature disclosure would adversely affect public interest regarding possible expansion of lab testing capability. Anyway, that was a mouthful. Bottom line is I'd like to see us go into closed session. Do we have a vote on that, right, David?
Yes, you have to vote. So was that your motion, Pete?
That's my motion.
Motion on the table. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Sandra. All in favor, Kathy?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Tom? Thank you. I'm Pete.
Aye.
I am stopping